pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Hey guys, Jane here, and today we are going to be talking about Bears Behaving Badly by Mary Janice Davidson. So, just a little bit of background. This author has written a book series called Betsy the Vampire Queen, I think, and I'd read several books in the series and really enjoyed them. And so when I found out that she had some shifter romances, I wanted to give them a try because I have a really hard time finding shifter romances that I jive with. And this was very much all of my check boxes that told me I would probably enjoy this book. So our hero, we have David, who is in law enforcement, and he is helping Annette, who is in like the werewolf werebear group, the supernatural group of CPS. So she is taking care of were children and supernatural children who are being abused, neglected, orphaned in the system. And in this case, there is a little girl who attacked somebody, and her foster brother who is in trouble as well, and they together, David and Annette, have to figure out like what happened with these kids and how to keep them safe and what's going on. And there's lots and twists and turns in the journey, and I love books that involve taking care of children and keeping children safe. Also, I love in the description it says something about him. David is too scared to tell Annette that he likes her, so he just keeps offering her Skittles. And I thought that was just absolutely lovely. And if I was going to read a shifter book and enjoy it, this might be it. Because I have a hard time because a lot of the shifter books out there, the guys are kind of jerks, the guys are alphas, and that's just not really my jam. I'm very much into a family-oriented man, a father, a man who wants to be a father. You know, I'm into doctors. I'm not necessarily into FBI agents and police. Now, again, with the CPS worker and them taking care of kids, that I could like, that was my jam. I was feeling it. So I picked up this book to give it a try. I already knew I liked the author, so we're going to talk about how I felt about this book in just a minute. But first, for those of you who are new, please remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button for more content. Also, the reason I started this channel is to spread awareness about the fact that I'm a writer. So I would like to tell you a little bit about one of my books. This book is available on Amazon and on Audible, and that is The Wolf's Pregnant Bride. Similar to the book I'm going to be talking about today, this is a book about well, in this case, one character who is a werewolf. So our gentleman here is a werewolf, and his name is Nathan, and Sophronia shows up at the door, and she is pregnant by his brother, who is the alpha heir, but the brother has recently gotten married. So the father comes to Nathan and says, listen, your brother screwed up, but he can't be married to two people, and if this is really your brother's child, we need to make sure that they are raised in a werewolf family because this girl's not a werewolf. We need to make sure they're raised by werewolves and protect our family and take care of our own. This is set in the Regency era in England. While all of this stuff is going on, the marriage happens. Suddenly, werewolves start dying. It's a fun story, a little bit of mystery, a lot of romance. If this is your jam, please check it out. As I said, it is on Amazon, it is in Kindle Unlimited, and on Audible. The covers may be slightly different. This is the paperback version, and I had custom artwork made for it, but the covers on the others are a little bit different. All right, back to the book we are reviewing today, Bears Behaving Badly. At the end of the day, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I wanted to love it, and I really thought it had potential to be a 4 or 5 star read, but alas, it was not. So there are going to be some very slight spoilers in this, but I'm not going to spoil too much. The main romance issue that these characters have, and it is kind of mentioned in the back of the book, but I didn't think we were going to keep carrying it on through the whole freaking book, was both of them are like, I like that person, but they clearly could never like me. And so it is really, really far into the book until they finally are like, hey, I kind of like you. Hey, I kind of like you too. Now we have other problems. We have this other big issue that's keeping us apart or potentially going to keep us apart, but it just dragged on and on and on forever of them being like internal dialoguing. Oh, I like them, but they could never like me. And I really found that frustrating and annoying. Another thing that I found really frustrating that I was surprised about because I've read this author's other books was the writing itself kind of drove me crazy. There's a lot of like, you'll have a sentence, maybe like dialogue, and then you'll break into some internal dialogue and then back to dialogue. There were times I found it confusing, and I realized that I'd read the Betsy the Vampire series through audiobook, and I wonder if those books maybe do the same thing, but as an audiobook, I didn't find it distracting because you had the narrator doing the different parts and you always knew who was speaking, and it just maybe didn't, like, you don't see where it doesn't look very clean on the page. So I really was distracted by the writing. I hated that the characters wouldn't tell each other they liked each other. There is not a lot of heat until there's a scene of heat, and the scene of heat I did not enjoy. There is a makeout scene that was very good. And then you get to the actual intimate scene later in the book, and I was not there for it. I can't even tell you why, but it just, for me, it felt very cringy. I didn't like it. So you might be asking, if I have all these complaints, why am I rating it a 3 out of 5 instead of something low? Well, and I'll tell you, the answer is because the characters were actually pretty good. I really enjoyed the characters, not necessarily the romance, but the characters themselves. They're well developed. They have complex lives, complex issues, complex histories, and I liked getting to know who they were. And I liked them. I liked following them. Their romance was driving me crazy. So David has a very complex group of friends. He has a very complex family history, and so does Annette. And as they are trying to help these children, we meet some really cool side characters, including the children themselves. There's some great dialogue, some very funny moments. Annette is hilarious, and especially her internal dialogue sometimes is just a hoot. So despite the fact that I was really frustrated by the romance and really frustrated by some of the writing style choices, I really liked the characters. I also love that they are very food oriented. This book is really a love story to food. These characters just love them some food. And I really had a fun time with that, and had a fun time with them both kind of teasing the other about being so food oriented. I also really enjoyed the plot. So these guys trying to protect these children, trying to find out what had happened to these children, prevent other things from happening to the children, and just the plot in general, I really enjoyed. I don't normally love mystery thriller plots, but this stayed very much within the realm of I cared, I was interested, the stakes were high, kids are in danger. So I really enjoyed that part of it as well. I just didn't like the romance. And again, it wasn't even necessarily the romance, but because the characters had good chemistry. I enjoyed the chemistry and the relationship. I just got very frustrated with the constant, oh, I really like him, but he doesn't like me, and oh, I really like her, but she can never like me. And then ultimately, when we get to the next issue of, okay, we like each other, but there's this thing standing in our way, the thing standing in the way, I didn't necessarily feel like was enough for it to be as big of a deal as was made out of it, maybe. I kind of was like, "Really? You're letting that keep you apart for the moment, or you're thinking of ruining this really great thing that you've started to develop because of this thing that's kinda not equal to the amount of time, space, energy, and thought you're giving it." So, and as I said, like, the physical part, there's a really good makeout scene that I was all there for, but then when we got into the actual sexual scene, there's one in this book, and I don't know what it was about it, but it wasn't working for me, and I really didn't enjoy it to the point of after I got about halfway through it, I'm like, skipping it." So, very mixed bag, this book. I don't know if I like who to recommend it to. If you like the author and you like shifter and werewolf books, well, werebear in this case, they're bears, maybe give it a try and see if you enjoy it. Like I said, there's a lot of jokes and a lot of fun, and there's some punny stuff, but there were parts of how it was written that I also didn't enjoy. So I don't know. I don't want to steer somebody away from it if it sounds like their jam, because you might really enjoy it if you're not bothered by the same things I am. But I was really disappointed because I really thought this book was going to be like a 4 or a 5 for me. It had all of the elements that it could have been a 4 or 5 for me, and I was really looking forward to it and really excited about it. And then I read it and I wanted to love it, and I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I won't read it again. Like, this is one that I'm gonna be rehoming, and I did buy other books in the series, which I'm going to try and see if maybe the couples have different problems I can relate to more, but I definitely was a little disappointed, and I I don't know. It seemed like it was gonna tick all my boxes, and I hate it when a book that I have a hard time finding ones that I am drawn to anyway, and then it just doesn't quite do it for me. So if you've read Bears Behaving Badly, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Did you have kind of a similar reaction to me? Was your reaction completely different? If you have read her other books, the Betsy the Vampire series, as a paper book, was it kind of strange? Did you have a lot of like dialogue, then interruption and thought, then dialogue? Was that distracting at all? If you've read Bears Behaving Badly on audio, was that a better experience? I mean, I guess maybe you can't compare it, but did you enjoy it? Did you not necessarily see the changes between dialogue and internal thought? I'm not sure what I want, but I just would like comments about this book because I really wanted to love it and I loved certain aspects of it, but I was really disappointed by the things that I was disappointed in. So I'd love to know what you thought. And then also, if you know of any shifter, werewolf, werebear books that do not have the things that I hate in them, I would love to hear about them. I'm really looking for things where the guy is not a jerk, where the guy is not hyper masculine, where the guy is very family oriented and just, handling his kids and his business, or, wanting to get married and have kids. Um, Kind of more of like the historical hero in a Balog or even a Virginia Henley, maybe. Guys who can be badass when they need to be, but 90% of the time are not. Um, Also, I just am not into the guys who are military or FBI or police officers that except in really specific circumstances like this. But if you have like a bear or a wolf who's a baker or a writer or, a bit of a more domestic thing, just I would love to hear good recommendations for shifter books that I might enjoy because I I love them. I write in the genre, but I'm so picky about the books that I read because most of the ones I find, the guy is an alpha, he's a jerk, he's horrible, or there's a lot of like cringy, it's their mate and creepy and she's not cool with it and there's some consent issues. Like I just am not down for any of this. I want like basically what I write. A nice historical romance with a nice guy. It doesn't even have to be historical. It can be contemporary, but like a rom-com but with werewolves or a nice historic Balog Henley Tessa Dare type romance but with werewolves. So if you guys have any suggestions that fall in those lines, please leave them down below. I would love to read more books about shifters and werewolves and I just need to find ones that call to me. All right guys, this has been Jane. See you next time. Bye.